This is Mike Koenigs. I'm on the line with Jeff Walker, who is recently published his brand new book. It's called Launch, and you can learn more at jeffwalkerlaunchbook.com. But Jeff, thanks for being here. We are actually doing a remote recording right now. How's everything in beautiful Colorado?
It is beautiful here. It's summertime, so yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Well, I know you've got a limited amount of time, so do I. So why don't you tell anyone who doesn't know who you are, you're legendary in the online marketing world, but in the rest of the world, why don't you just describe a little bit of your background, where you came from, and what brought you to this point, and then we're going to start talking about the book and what you're doing to market and promote it, and how you're really you're really going after the big coveted New York Times position by promoting this the traditional way. This is going to be a great educational opportunity and a way to learn more about what you're doing and why you did it as well.
Yep. Okay, so I started my first online business in 1996. At that time, I was a stay-at-home dad with a couple little babies. My wife was out supporting the family, and I really needed a change in my life. Really, my wife needed me. I've got a big, long story about that, but like one day, my wife came home and she's like, Jeff, she was in tears, and she's like, I need you to just try to support the family in some way. Even if you could make $10,000 a year, it would help me out so much. I'm getting up in the dark, driving to work. I'm coming home in the dark. I barely get to see my kids. And so I'm like, okay, I got to try to do something here. And unfortunately, I had committed career suicide a number of years before, and I was literally just home taking care of the kids. Now, I had an interest in the stock market. I was studying the stock market. So I decided I would try this online thing in 1996 and started an email newsletter about the stock market. And the newsletter grew from 19 subscribers for the initial, the first newsletter was 19 subscribers, which is basically everyone I knew who had an email address, and grew from there. Eventually, I started trying to sell products of my own, and I stumbled onto this way of launching new products, and the way I stumbled onto it was I was scared to ask for the order because I didn't believe that someone would actually buy anything from me. And so I went through this elaborate romance process or romance cycle before I asked for the order. Well, lo and behold, a few people did start to buy from me, and I got better and better and better at launching products until in 1999, my wife was able to retire, came home to be with the kids. In 2000, we were living in the Denver area at that time. And in 2000, we were able to move out to our dream hometown in Durango, Colorado, which is way out in the mountains, about 300 miles from Denver. And just got better and better and better at launching products. And until like in 2000, it was actually when we were going to buy our new home in Durango, I did a launch that did six figures, $106,000 in 7 days. And so just obviously by that time that was with no partners, no paid media. There really wasn't much paid media back then. It was just to my small email list. I didn't have any employees at that point. And that was actually to help us buy our new home in Durango. And so it kept on getting better and better and better. And then 2005, my old business sort of imploded due to partnership problems. And it was time to move on to a different business. At that point, I started teaching product launches because I'd had great success with launching new products. And I also taught a few people how to do it, and they had great success. John Reese had done $1 million launch after I showed him some of my techniques. And long story short, in 2005, when my last business imploded, that stock market-based business imploded, I started teaching product launches. I came up with a product called the Product Launch Formula. And since then, I've basically been continually updating it and refining it. I've done, 12 or 13, maybe 14 consecutive $1 million launches. I've lost track. But more important, my students and clients have done over $500 million in product launches. And so it's been an amazing ride. I've been able to help a lot of people, making a huge impact on people. Those people are out in the world making an even bigger impact. So I just have this incredible life where I live out in the mountains. I've got those two little babies of mine that I was raising back then in 1996. They're all grown up now. One of them, actually, both of them are helping me in the business right now. And yeah, it's been a crazy ride. So just a couple of years ago, I decided that, it's time to write a book about this because it's something that has changed marketing. It's changed online marketing, certainly. And the result, it's just been an amazing ride. I've been able to help a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's great. I just saw your brother John this weekend. We were at a mastermind together, and I got to hear the story again, which I've heard your story lots of times. And I think that's the big drive, the big motivator. When you meet the good guys in the business, that's what they're ultimately all about, is just serving. And you're one of those guys who's just held true to what you do, how you do it. And you've got, the good news is a long trail of success behind you. So I think moving on to the book, let's talk a little bit about the book itself. Why did you write it in the first place? What is your objective and goal? Because here you are, you're basically selling a $2,000 information product that teaches people how to do product launches. In a way, a lot of authors would dream to be in the position you have, which is they don't have a product to sell, and they might have a bunch of books, but they don't have an audience, they don't have a base, they don't have a platform. And here you are, you're able to go out with something that basically you're selling. You're giving it away just for the price of shipping and handling. So, and we'll get into the strategy in a moment, but let's just talk first about why write a book when you've got it all already?
Right. That's a great question. It was I started thinking about this book in 2009. And that's when I first started talking to my publisher and started actually writing it in 2001. Went through a lot of pain, some missteps, and started over again in 2012. And here we are, more than 2 years later, and it's finally done. So there's really three main reasons. One of them, the big one is, for years, people, Product Launch Formula is a $2,000 training program. And the people that have gotten it have unbelievable ROI. I mean, Mike, you look at the launches you've done, and what's the ROI for you on Product Launch Formula? It's incalculable.
It's true. We've done, I know, somewhere in the $40 million range, maybe even close to 50 already. It's getting in that neighborhood. So I'm a product of this, and I'm kind of a second generation online marketer. Even though I was doing it a long time ago, I wasn't doing it specifically with information products. So it's incredible.
Yeah, so you're 10% of that 500 million.
Yeah.
So in this case, but people for years have been saying, Jeff, can't you just distill it down for the mass public and make it something that that the mass public can reach? And so that was one big reason. Another big reason, frankly, and maybe there's some ego involved here, but it was legacy. This Product Launch Formula and my teachings they've changed marketing. I mean, I think, and I know a lot of people that agree with me, that it's one of the biggest innovations almost since like the sales letter. And so it's made this huge impact. And someone at some point is going to sit down and write the history of marketing, and someone's going to get credit for this. And since I invented it, I figure it might as well be me. And so I figured the book would help me cement that in.
That's a good idea. That's a good point. That's awesome.
I mean, I try to stay humble and not have a big ego, but it's like, this is a big deal, and someone's going to get credit for it. It might as well be me. So, and then the third one is, quite frankly, to generate leads, because I know there's going to be a lot of people that get that book, and I want to be real clear. The book, this isn't something I slapped together. I slaved over this for years, and I slaved to make it both have a ton of content, but also be a lot of fun to read. So it's packed with stories of my clients. I love to tell stories of my clients, and some of my stories. And those stories are in the context of the teaching. And but I know a lot of people are going to get that. It's going to be really meaty, and they're going to do great and do a launch just from the book. That's fantastic. I love that. But I know a lot of people are going to read that book and say, okay, this guy really does have it going on. I want to see what else he's got. And then they're going to come to me, and some small percentage of them are going to end up getting Product Launch Formula. So I think it's going to help me reach a wider audience.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I think, the big advantage, what I want everyone to hear here, is positioning yourself as the number one expert and authority is something you can do. You can declare it. And you do get to write history in this case, but it's real history. It's not like in the past, whoever wrote history got to invent it. This is real. and you do have just a long line and audience of people who've implemented, used, and and again, I think what I really appreciate about you, Jeff, is besides walking the walk and the talk, you've got your brother who works with you, his wife, your wife, and then now you've got your kids. I wasn't aware that both of them were involved. Now I knew your son, but
right, yeah, no, my son does my video, my photo. But my daughter, who's, she's going to school, she's studying fashion design, but she just got home for the summer last week. And we are absolutely slammed for customer service because we're selling so many books.
Yeah.
And so we brought her into customer service, and her boyfriend's in customer service now too. So it's just ridiculous. It's
a high quality problem to have, that's for sure. We'll see how it evolves. We'll talk about this in about 6 months and see what kind of wreckage is laying behind you. But so let's get into the actual book launch itself. And one of the things that I have on the screen here, and first of all, I want to invite you, if you're watching this right now, make sure you bring up Jeff's video. Head over to jeffwalkerlaunchbook.com, and you can see this page. But Jeff, what I want to talk to you a little bit about is what you're doing with the book offer itself and how this works, because again, this is going to seem a little counterintuitive to someone that you're actually giving the book away, and the only catch is, and it's really no catch, is you're covering the shipping and handling costs. And I know this myself, that it's really not even going to really cover the shipping and handling, because by the time you work in the administrative, the expense, and the cost of the book itself, I mean, you're losing money on this. So, on the book page, and by the way, when you bring up the page, make sure you mute Jeff so you can continue listening to us. But go ahead, Jeff. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you're doing with it?
Yeah, well, first I got to tell you a little anecdote, because this is like an insider anecdote that you don't get to reply to the customer this way. But we had someone complaining. They said, Jeff, you said the book's free, but it's $6.95 shipping and handling. It's not free. And it's like I was trying to scam them. It's like, no, I mean, it's like you come to the site and it says in my video and on the site, it says it's shipping. If you don't want it, fine, but don't get angry. And it's like my daughter was saying, it's sort of like, someone puts an ad for on Craigslist and says free desk. And like, when you see free desk, does that mean like that you expect them to drive the desk over the house and give it to you? I mean, you're going to have to drive to their house. Does that mean like they're going to pay for your gas to go to your house?
That would be the other way, is you could say, look, you can come to the post office and pick it up there, But yeah, exactly. That is, I love that argument. I've never heard that one before. I love that. Okay.
It's like, well, it has to be like a kid that comes up with that kind of a response. But
it's great. So yes.
Anyway, yeah, you're right. We're going negative. I mean, we're spending money. It costs us real money to get these books in people's hands. But basically, we're using it to we're using it to basically create pre-sales, and that's going to give us momentum once we open cart. I use launch type terminology. Once the book goes live, like on June 24th, this will give us massive momentum. And it just allows us to get the book in a lot of people's hands and start that word of mouth. And frankly, like as people come through right now, just in full disclosure for your people, I mean, what we're going to do is after you get the free book, free with shipping and handling, it's $6.95 in the U.S. and Canada, and $9.95 anywhere else in the world. But after they go through that process, then we're going to make an offer. And we're going to make an offer for one of our training products at a radically discounted price. And so we'll make back some of the money that way. And it's our goal to hit break even, but we're close, but we're not there.
Okay.
And but it's basically what we're doing is we're losing some money up front to generate huge buzz, to generate word of mouth, to generate reviews on Amazon. And it's using my formula. My formula is all about, product launch formula is all about delivering big value up front and then hoping to get a result later on. And so I'm delivering huge value. I'm going negative, but I know it's going to come back to me in the end.
Absolutely. No, it's based on what you've told me off camera, it sounds like things are going very, very well right now for it as well.
Yeah, we're just absolutely killing it. it's blown away every expectation I've ever had. It's like I was just adding up the numbers, and we've done more orders because each book, that's an order, because we're getting at $6.95. We've done more orders in the last 6 days than I have all of my products combined since 1996. It's just absolutely crazy. It's just insane. We're basically, we did in 6 days what I was hoping to do. My stretch goal for like 2 weeks, we just did in 6 days. It's just gone off the charts.
It's absolutely fantastic. So one of the things that you did, Jeff, is, and I was watching this as you're doing it, and of course I've known for years that you're planning on writing a book, but you seeded your book. In other words, you've been putting content on your blog, on social, long in advance. Can you talk a little bit about some of the specific strategies that you used and what's going on there? What was the objective, and what do you see as being the results, and what can a new author or an existing author learn from what you did there? Because ultimately, part of this whole thing is you created enough awareness, and I think as you've taught for many years, and anyone who's been marketing online, is to create some sort of a buzz and anticipation and desire ahead of time. But can you get a little specific on what went on?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's in product launch formula terminology, we call this the pre-launch. And it's where you do, Frank Kern, I think Andy Jenkins, they use the term we're agitating in the market. And it's sort of like you create this low-level buzz campaign. It's what you're really doing. Another thing you're doing is you're trying to enroll people. So, I've got my list, which is a very sizable list, and I've got a sizable social following. And I'm going out and I'm trying to really, what's going on in my mind, there's a lot of different things, but one of them is I'm trying to enroll them so they feel like they're an insider and that they know the behind the scenes that's going on. And then when you do come out with your launch, then it's almost like, since they've been part of it all along, they're all about telling people about it. So that's part of it. Another part is gathering data. Figuring out ahead of time what are the hot points, what are going to be the questions, what are people really interested, what are the objections, and those type of things. And so, like what I did, I think the first, I started probably a year or two ago. I would every now and then in an email. And the email could be a promotion for something, or it could just be a content email. I would just, here and there, I'd mention I'm writing my book. I'm working on a book. So now, like the diehard Jeff Walker fans, and there are a few of them, they know that the book's coming, and it's like, oh, cool. So they're a real insider. And then I don't know, it's probably about 3 or 4 months ago when we were designing the book cover. I ran a contest on 99 Designs,
Yep.
which a lot of people have used 99 Designs. If you don't know it, it's a great place to get graphics created, 99designs.com. And you have a bunch of people that compete to make the design. So I took the top 4 or 5 designs and I ran a survey. So I sent out basically a link to everyone on my list and said, hey, I've got this book coming out. I really need your help picking which cover I should use. And then I sent everyone to a survey where they could just pick and say, I like this survey, I like this cover, I don't like that cover. And it was great because I got thousands of people responding, telling me which cover was a winner and which is a loser, which is fantastic because I really wanted that information. But it also let them know, again, a book's coming, and here's a way for you to be involved, and here's a way to give your feedback. And it's almost like on American Idol, you're sitting there watching, and after a few weeks, you got the one you're rooting for, and this is the same way. People are rooting for different book covers, and again, they're excited, and it's a way of creating that buzz ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then in the last few weeks, I started. I've got I guess it's a vlog, a video blog, and I started putting out posts there talking about my writing process and what was going on in my writing and what my challenges were, and the title and why I called it this and that. And again, just engaging people. And this is really engaging your inner core, your inner tribe. And those are the people that are going to go out and leave reviews for you or mention you in social and just be your real fans. And it's just like, if you have any kind of following, whether it's in social, whether it's an email list, or it could just be your friends and family, you should absolutely do this, because there's also another thing it does is it drives you forward. It
Hmm.
gets you excited when you start getting, because I'll tell you what, that last 1% is, it's tough to get that thing done. And when you got these fans behind you and you put it out there that you've got something coming, it's just that much more energy driving you forward.
It was very, very well done. Like I said, I've been watching it and watching the comments and knowing both the inside and the outside. It's been great. And one more time, I just want you to check it out and see what Jeff's doing. Head on over to jeffwalkerlaunchbook.com and get yourself a copy too if you haven't already. So let's talk a little bit about why didn't you self-publish the book on Amazon and use CreateSpace? Because one of the things that you could have done is you could have done everything that you're doing right now. You'd have absolute total control. You'd keep all the money. You'd be able to create the buzz and not have to deal with any kind of red tape or restrictions. And one thing I know about you, Jeff, is you're very independent. You're fiercely independent, in fact. But why work with a traditional publisher?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and frankly, it's, there's a few different ways to go, and I've thought about it a lot, but for me, it's always about, like, anytime I'm going to go do any type of project in business or anywhere, but let's talk business. I'm going to first look at my assets and look, I'm going to look, what's my outcome? What outcome do I want? And what are my assets? And what's the best way to deploy those assets to get that outcome? And for me, this book's not about making money. I think, if it we put on the bestseller list and it grows legs and it just keeps on selling and selling, and I think it's got a chance to do that, I might make some money from the book in that case. But in reality, if you go back to like what I wanted out of the book, I wanted to reach a bigger audience. I wanted to create that legacy. I wanted to drive leads. And nowhere in there was I want to make money, because I'm in the fortunate position where I've got a very, very profitable business, and we're just killing it in the business. So I can afford to not make money on this thing. And just use it as a lead gen and create that legacy and maybe drive it to the bestseller lists. That's another goal, is hitting the bestseller lists. And it's going to be tough to do that with just using CreateSpace. And so I look at the assets I've got, which is I've got a great cash flow. I've got a list. I've got great partners. I've got the social following. And frankly, my social following is nothing special, but it's really that email list of my partners and my positioning and a pent-up demand for people that really want this thing. And that's like, I can afford to give up the front end that I would make with self-publishing, and because I know it's all going to come back to me in the back end.
Okay, that's good. And so the other thing that you're doing here is you're capturing the book sales yourself. So as someone goes through the process and they enter their contact information, part of the promise that you have, and maybe before we get into this, you're saying, look, you can have the book for free, pay for shipping and handling, and I'm going to give you some great bonuses. So first of all, maybe let's talk about what are the great bonuses that everyone gets when they get your book in the first place, and then we'll talk about how you're capturing the sales.
Yeah, well, first I'll tell you what the bonuses are now, but in just between you and me, everyone who's watching, there's going to be more bonuses added down the road. But right now, the promise is basically you get a case study. And the case study is someone who basically went from nothing, started from scratch, and really in the midst of tragedy started from scratch and built a business. It's an amazing story. Built a business that did $500,000 in sales in a very short period of time. I think it's probably a total of, I don't know, it might have been 18 months, might have been 2 years. But just literally started with the contacts in her address list of 50 contacts, and then did the launch even before she created the product, and it was, and put together a great product that helped a lot of people, and then just kept on rolling from there and did launch after launch. And so you get a written PDF case study, and that's with Tara Marino, just an incredible story. And then there's 3 in-depth training videos. The first one really goes into the sideways sales letter, which is the core strategy behind the product launch formula. The second one talks about seed launches, or teaches you about seed launches. And seed launches, those are the launches where you can start from scratch with no product and no list. They're great. And then the third video, it's a video and a full PDF. I think it's like 13 or 14 pages long, that walks through the entire product launch blueprint. So you get all those videos, and And I space them out. First, you'll get the case study with Tara, and then you'll get those videos. And so you'll get all of that and the book for free for the $6.95 shipping.
It's a great deal. So what someone does here is they come to this page, they fill in their name, their email address, they enter their shipping information, and the basic credit card. You've got a nice page here for anyone who's looking to model something that's successful. This is a great page to look at, and I know you used a variation on the page here is something that Brendan Burchard, I know it was one of, if not the first, to kind of use this model. We've done a variation of it for years. We call it the instant publishing machine, where it's buy the book, click on the book, forward the receipt. But again, because you're taking the order. But why did you choose this particular design to capture the orders? And what have the results been so far from, in terms of the success and anything that's fallen apart or really worked really well?
Yeah, no, it's going really well. First of all, we knocked Brendan off because Brendan's a good friend. I know that page really converts. I contacted Brendan and said, "Hey, you mind if we knock off your design?" And he's like, "I not only don't mind, but I want you to do that." So we basically used very similar design to what Brendan used. We actually built it from scratch based on his, but silly me, I actually didn't know you had that built in. Mm-hmm. And I would have just used yours if I knew any better. We have been testing like crazy, both that page and the next page and the upsell page. So they've been tweaked quite a bit. Right. Little tiny things that can make a difference. And in fact, like the design you have up in front of you, we're testing like the blue, those bullet points are in blue. We're testing those against those bullet points in black. And right now the bullet points in black it's too early to tell, but it looks like the black might win. Mm-hmm. We're also, there's like testimonial / blurbs right under the video.
Yep. Where you're rotating them. Yep, right down here.
Rotate those, and again, that's straight off of Brendan. But now we put a little header above that says like these are what people are saying, and we bolded those, and that test is also looking pretty good. But we're constantly testing and tweaking. This page right now, it varies on traffic, but we're converting about 40% of the people are putting in their name and email address. 40 to 43%. So to me, that's like shockingly, amazingly good.
That is awesome. And then from there, how many people are completing the sale out of the 40 or 50% that go the next stage?
Well, I'd have to dig up. So the stat I'm going to give you is how many people hit the first page that actually get the book.
Yeah.
Instead, so this is out of 100 that hit that first page. Let's say 40 of them give a name and email address, and 26 of them are actually getting the
completing.
book.
Wow.
Yeah. So it'd be 26 divided by 40. I've got an old school calculator here. 65% of the people hitting that page are actually completing the order form.
That's fantastic. So what the big lesson there goes to, first of all, head on over to jeffwalkerlaunchbook.com and try this out, but also see what he's doing, because the secret and the reason why Jeff's so successful and other people like him, and I'll say that we've been doing the same thing, is we are at any given time, Jeff already said, he's doing several tests. One of them is, he's up here, he's got different color text, blue to black, just something that subtle can make a difference. Or what other people say, and bolding this can make a difference between 2%. Well, so often, so many businesses, where most businesses, if they are running at a 10 to 20% margin, they're incredibly successful. But it's when you've got a 2% stacked on another 2% stacked on another 2%, it can make the difference between breaking even and making a fortune, especially with the volume that Jeff is seeing right now. So it's another reason to just look at this and pay very close attention, or even go in there and sign up for it and do it again, maybe in a few extra days. That's what I would do as well, is why not buy another book, send it to a friend of yours. So All right, Jeff. So here's the next one I have. Do you have something else you want to add with regards to the order and the checkout process before I ask you the
Yeah.
other big one?
Yeah, no, the thing like the one thing you asked like well, if anything's breaking or not,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes always, and it's my job to make it look really clean and smooth on the outside, but it's always chaos behind the
Totally. You're
scenes.
making sausage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like Dan Sullivan. He's my coach. He says, never compare your backstage to someone else's front stage. It's like you're at a play and the curtain
Yeah.
goes up and it looks amazing, but like 30 seconds before that curtain goes up, it's chaos. And so don't go through your business. You're like, oh, look at Jeff's page, looks so awesome. And mine looks like just garbage. Well, mine looked like garbage 5 minutes before it went live.
Wow.
So don't beat yourself up. It's a common theme I repeat often. Like, and one of the things, frankly, we're struggling with is the testing. We're using a bunch of code, dynamic code, and I've always used Visual Website Optimizer for several years, and
Mm-hmm.
we've had a hard time getting that to play nice with some of the code we're using on some of our pages.
Yeah.
So, frankly, the biggest thing we've struggled with is being able to iterate our tests as quick as I want to.
Yes.
So,
Well,
yeah,
and that again is where the gold is, and I've had that happen before too, where I've worked with, say, a new programmer, a new member of the team, and I assume everyone understands and knows, and if they and I expect them to say, hey, if they don't understand something, they'd say something to me, and I'll tell them a bunch of stuff. I'll come back and I go, hey, how's that thing going? And they'll go, oh, we never installed testing code or any tracking code. It's like, we just sent 1,000 leads to this page. How could you tell me something like that? Everything we've done, I don't care about the money. I care about knowing what works and what doesn't work, And so,
Right.
being able to run 3 or 4 or 5 split tests simultaneously is so important. And again, my objective is not to overwhelm our viewers, but the point I'm trying to get at is, when you study someone like Jeff and you see what's going on, the real gold comes from the wisdom that gets accumulated in the history so he can prevent you from making massive mistakes that could be not only costly but literally sink you. And it's why Jeff just mentioned, his coach is Dan Sullivan, who's an unbelievable guy. I know most of us have learned about him through our friend Joe Polish, but we all need coaches, and we very rarely can see the truth through our own filters. We need other people to give us some sort of feedback, which really leads me to the next big question here, Jeff, is, it sounds like things are going so well. There's a very high probability that not only is this going to be a bestseller, it could very well become a New York Times bestseller once you've figured out the testing and you've got this working. So if I were going to ask you right now, if you were going to give someone advice on how to become a best-selling author and who wants to model your success, what should they do that you wish you either didn't do or you wish you had done at this point? Because again, at this point, all you can do is just adjust on the fly because you got your momentum, things are happening and they're happening quickly. You just got to keep on moving. It's not like you can go back in time 2 months and go, oh God, So what advice would you have that's the should or shouldn't do?
Yeah, so I can only I'm going to answer this from my perspective here,
Mm-hmm.
given the assets I have. And, one of the things, that last 1% of the book really took a long time. I thought the book was done. So, I mean, this is not something I slapped together. This is my life's work. I slaved over this thing. And once I started running it by, there's a few different things here. So I wrote it, and then I ran it by, then I sent it to my editor. And first of all, I wrote it and I did 3 drafts. And then I sent it to my editor.
Wow.
And then she came back with her changes. And like, Jeff, you have too many cliches. You use too many ellipses. You're set, a few other things. It's like, and I'm like, okay. So I, fixed that, went back to her. She came back with more changes, went back to her. She came back with more changes. So we went 3 rounds with the editor after 3 drafts. And I'm like, okay, we're pretty much dialed in. I think we're done. And so then I started having it proofread. And I actually have 3 people on my team that are really good at proofreading. And the first person went through it and found all kinds of mistakes, but I figured that would happen. And then the second person went through after the first person and found a bunch of mistakes the first person missed. I was like, okay, that's interesting. Then the third person went through it, and it's a 200-page book, so it's a big deal to go through it.
Yeah.
And the third person found more mistakes that the first 2 missed. So I was like, oh, if we're still finding mistakes, we got to still keep on going. And so we ran it through 2 more proofreadings until it finally felt clean. And then, so that whole process, that took, 10 days. And didn't have to be super involved, but I had to be somewhat involved because not all of them were just like, I forgot to dot a T or something. It was like, well, you said this here and you said this earlier, and those two don't, whatever.
Yeah, you had congruence issues, it sounds like, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I obsess over congruence or how you capitalize something. Do you capitalize pre-launch all the way through or not? And it's like, yeah. And so we went through that. And then we sent it off to the publisher. So then the publisher lays the book out. And all of a sudden I realized I have to proof that because they come back and like photos aren't where I want to be. And that went through 3 rounds of proofing.
Wow.
And then it's like, okay, well, let's see. We need back cover copy. You need the blurbs. Oh, going out and getting blurbs. That's a back and forth with people. There was just captions for the photos. It's like, and all these little things added up to probably about 2 or 3 or 4 weeks of my time. And those are the 2 or 3 or 4 weeks where I meant to build all my marketing. And so all of a sudden, that got delayed. Now I'm asking my team to like just go crazy, and they are amazing, and they're just working insane. So they're awesome. And
well, thank God they're family, so they're basically slaves. You can't get put in jail for that. No, I'm just messing with you.
They're not all family.
I'm just kidding, man.
No, my tech guy's like pulling all-nighters, and it's like, oh my. I mean, I don't want that from them.
No, of course not. Yes.
I can't get them to go to bed.
Yeah.
And so, but the last, couple of weeks ended up crunching. And then, so that just made the whole marketing a lot more compressed. And then what we did was, before we asked partners to mail, we tested. So we spent about a week testing our marketing, but it would have been better if we had 2 weeks to test our marketing. I would have felt much better about the process. So long story short, that last 1% took me a lot. And I hate to say that to like aspiring or would-be authors, because I don't, if once someone breaks their leg, you want to tell them, oh man, I broke my leg 2 years ago and I ski better than I ever skied in my life. That's what you want to tell them. You don't want to say, boy, that 8 weeks in the cast was utter hell, and then it got even worse after I took the cast off. It hurt. That was the most painful.
Yeah.
You don't want to tell people that, but here I am telling authors that the last 1% is it's a battle. It just is a battle.
Yeah, that is an enormous. Yeah, it is. So if you look at so we kind of have the should and the shouldn't. Are there any tools, software, any other things that really either would have or did improve what you did that would make the writing process easier, the management process, or any of this stuff?
Yeah. Well, like one thing I did was like I said, I went through this whole first iteration, tore that up, and started from scratch. But then once I got really serious, I had this what I followed on writing days, and this isn't rocket science, and other people do this, and I got it from other people, and you read about other successful writers and they do something similar. Is I would have days, I call them focus days. That's a term from Dan Sullivan, or writing days, and I would plan for the day, and I'd go to bed, and the next morning I know it's going to be a writing day that next day, a focus day, and I would get up, and when my feet hit the ground, getting out of bed, within 10 minutes maximum, I would be sitting at my computer. The only thing I would do is brush my teeth and floss my teeth. I would be at the computer. I'd have a big glass of water, and I would write for put my fingers on the keyboard, and the fingers didn't come off the keyboard, 50 minutes straight writing. I don't not check an email. I don't do any of that first. The absolute first thing I do, I've already got the document opened up before I go to bed. The first thing I do is I sit and I put my fingers on the keyboard and I start writing for 50 minutes. Take 10 minutes off, do some push-ups, do some yoga, go get a cup of tea, come back, 50 minutes straight on. And then that day, if I do that, that day goes in the win column. because 2 focused hours of writing with zero distraction, you win. You absolutely win. I could basically knock out. I don't write terribly fast. It's like I do about 1,000 words, 1,000 to 1,200 words in that 50-minute stretch. So I get 2,000 to 2,500 words done. But if a book's, I think this book's like 70,000 words. It doesn't take that many of those days to really nail at least the first script. And then the other thing I would do to juice that is I would put on headphones. So usually this is early in the morning. I'd be the first one up. No one else in the house. It's dead quiet. But I would put on headphones. And then I have this app that I use. I use it for meditation. But it also works really great for these focus hours. It's called Relax Melodies. And that's available for iOS, for Android, for your computer. Relax Melodies. And it basically generates white noise. You can have, like, I'm listening to like the sound of waterfalls and stuff. And then you can put in you can add in whatever white noise you want. And then you can add in binaural beats. So I'll add in binaural beats that'll really focus my brain. And it's got a timer. So I'll put those headphones on, set that timer 50 minutes. So I don't have to worry about looking at the clock or anything. And I'm full out writing for 50 minutes. And then when it fades away, I know the sound fades away at 50 minutes. I'm done. I take my 10-minute break. I time that break. Then I'm back at it. So that was really, really huge. And then the other tool, I used Scrivener. A lot of writers use Scrivener.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
It is a great tool. In the end, my editor didn't use it, so I had to take stuff out of there and put it in Word. And we ended up using Word once I got to the editing process. So that was a little bit of a pain, but I used Scrivener for the writing, and that was really solid.
It's really, really good. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you one more question in a second, but I just want to restate what's going on, which is, first of all, make sure you take advantage of Jeff's goodies here and head over to jeffwalkerlaunchbook.com. And I want to not only stress that you're not only going to get a great book, but you're also going to get these training videos that Jeff promised, and the PDF and the guide that outlines the product launch formula. But I'm going to throw in a couple of cool bonuses as well, which is when you invest in Jeff's book and you forward your receipt, send it to support@trafficgeyser.com, and I'm actually going to mail you a copy of my first book. It's called Author Expert Marketing Machines, and it's filled with all sorts of strategies. If you're compelled right now on this thought of writing your own book and becoming an author, I will actually mail you, and I'll actually cover the shipping and handling price, just because I believe in what Jeff is doing so much. And he's not only been a very good friend, both he and his brother John. I love their wives as well. And I just think he's made a huge contribution to the marketing world. And it's my way of saying, look, not only are you getting a great deal, I'm going to give you something else. And the other thing that I'm going to do is, for people who are not already customers, I'm going to give you a trial of Instant Customer and Traffic Geyser. And currently, as of the time I'm making this, Traffic Geyser isn't available right now, except as a large package. So you'll be able to try out both of those products, which can help you either sell and promote your own products, distribute your own content, capture leads. We've got lead capture pages built in, the beautiful builder. It hosts all your content, and it will also allow you to do some of the stuff that you see on Jeff's page here, to be able to sell your own products and services and integrate with your own system. So one more time, head on over to jeffwalkerlaunchbook.com. When you fill out the form, forward the receipt, I will mail you a copy of my book to the same address, and also give you a link so you can try out Traffic Geyser and Instant Customer if you are not an already existing customer. So Jeff, is there anything else that you want to add to anyone who's watching this video right now that you think is important or valuable, or any other giant lessons or suggestions, recommendations you might have?
Yeah, so I think the number one thing is first of all, I had the most humble beginnings you could imagine. I was literally when I started my business, I was Mr. Mom. I was on a homemade desk. There was a piece of plywood held up by some 1-inch pipe. It was in the baby's changing room. And you can do this. You can get out there and you can get after it, and you can do this. And if you dig behind the scenes of almost every leader in this market, you have a crazy story like that, where they just started from scratch. And so you can absolutely do this. My life changed. I got this email advertising this product as a basic information product. It taught about how to get into the information marketing business. And this was in the mid 90s when I got this. And the guy didn't even really have the internet. It was about how to sell on AOL and CompuServe, if you remember those. And I sat there and I looked at this and I'm like, this seems like a scam, but I could just look and see people are making money from publishing. They wouldn't keep on doing it if they weren't making money. And so I printed that. It was an email sales letter. I printed it out and I read that every night for a week. I read that letter. I'm like, man, I've never sold anything in my life, but this just seems so, logically, it makes sense. I know books get sold. I know information products, DVDs and CDs and online courses, they get sold. And why can't I do it? And so after I think a week of reading that letter, it was $99.50. And I had this is 1996 or 5. And so I actually had to send a check away and wait. They sent me a floppy disk. And, when I spent that $99.50, I think it was $95 plus $4.50 in shipping and handling or something like that. And when I spent that money, at that time, our disposable income for our family was $400 per year. So after we paid for the house and the groceries and the diapers, it was $400 we had left. I know because I had a budget that we lived by. And we needed to have that budget. And I spent 1/4 of that. And since then I've sold tens of millions of dollars of products. And my clients have sold $500 million of products. And I've changed the world. And, it didn't happen overnight. It was a series of baby steps and continually learning to think bigger and bigger and bigger. But that's your mission. That's your job, is to get out there, get educated. Obviously, I'd love if you got my book. Mike's throwing in these amazing bonuses. I would love that. But either way, there's so much great information out there, and you can do this. You can do it. I did it, and lots of other people did it. You can do it.
This is great. Well, first of all, thank you, Jeff. Great content. It was great information. I'm really glad we took the time to do this, and you took the time because I know you got a billion things going on, and you're traveling tomorrow. But for you watching right now, head on over to jeffwalkerlaunchbook.com, get the book, get the bonuses, and I'll send you my book and also give you some software bonuses to try out that really complement everything that Jeff's doing. And again, it's my way of saying thank you for supporting Jeff and putting my foot forward because I'm really one of the success stories who's used the product launch formula in my own businesses now for nearly a decade. And we've touched over 30,000 customers of our own, and including probably you if you're watching this. And I'm feeding my family and also supporting my wife's nonprofit, her charity, as a result of being able to have this platform. So I just think it's that important. And like Jeff said, which I absolutely agree, anyone can do this if you just create the willpower and have the guts to go out and the desire to change the world. So Jeff, thank you for the time, and go ahead, head on over to jeffwalkerlaunchbook.com, get the bonus, get the book, and I will see you in one of our upcoming videos very, very soon.